Welcome, one and all, to a special edition of the Signals from Mars live stream brought to you by the Mars Attacks podcast and VMR IT Web Design. If you listen to my podcast at the beginning of every show, you'll actually hear this clip. I should have had this queued up, and it's this.
Let's do it.
That is Mr. John Bush. Many years ago, during one of my interviews, where I got to interview you, and we did, I think, an ID, and you added that. And I think about 3-4 years ago, I interviewed Joey, and he actually did.
I'm ready.
He did. I'm ready. So at the beginning of every podcast, I have John Bush saying, "Let's do it," and Joey Vera saying, "I'm ready." So
nice. Do we get paid royalties for that?
Oh boy, here we go.
I know, I'm joking. It's funny. There was a phrase that I had for a while amongst a group of friends, and my wife also, you kind of reiterated it, and it was like, let's do it. So, it was probably a drunken kind of battle cry that I did before maybe having a shot or something. So that sounds very familiar to me. It's funny. I even sound a little bit like I had a couple drinks before I did that, but I don't know what time of the day it was when we did the interview. Hopefully not. Anyway, good to be here, man.
Awesome. It is great to for
the beginning of the intro. I like that. That was cool. That was a cool group.
That's something that I actually wrote. That's well, with all the stuff now with royalties and whatnot, I had bands saying, "Oh, you can use my music. You can do this. You can do that." And as Spotify started kicking shows off, because they featured music and whatnot, even after like Metal Blade and whoever would say, "Yeah, sure, play a song, no problem," but without written consent, all these platforms were kicking bands off or kicking podcasts off. So I said, screw it. I've got this music. It's been lying around for I don't know how long. No one's going to complain about. Well, they could complain that it's shitty, but they're not complaining.
I like it. I was grooving to it. It sounded cool.
So awesome. That's a huge accomplishment. And I will say that was for a project that I wanted to put together because someone that I had dated many years ago was dying from Huntington's disease.
Oh, wow. I don't even know what that is.
It's similar to like ALS. It's a neurological disease that you lose all function. And her mom had it, she had it, and now her two brothers have it as well.
Oh my God, that's terrible, man. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, the reason that I bring this up is because you're wearing a Hades t-shirt. Alan Tecchio is the only person who I reached out to, who I said, "Hey, I'm doing this. Obviously, these are demos. This isn't that great, but I intend on getting musicians together who can play this stuff. I'll drum on it, but I'll get a real guitarist to play on a real bass player, so on and so forth. Alan, would you be interested?" And he said, "Yeah, absolutely." And I said, "Well, how much do I have to pay you?" He's like, "I don't care, just whatever." So he was the only person out of anyone that I reached out to that was actually cool enough to say, "Whatever you need, I'll do it." So
wow, how random is that I happen to be wearing this shirt? Alan and I used to be pen pals back in the day, like when people actually wrote letters to one another. So I've known him for years. I haven't seen him in a long time, but I've known him for years. So
he actually lives a town over from where I grew up in New Jersey. So
how random.
Yeah, it's actually, I've said to him many times, I go, next time I'm back in the States, we need to actually hook up for, even if it's 5 minutes, to just say hello. So
where are you if you're not in the States?
I'm in Spain, actually.
Oh, so. Maybe, is that where are you Spanish from descent, or?
My folks are from over here. I was born in the States, and in the about late 2003, I moved over here to Spain.
Oh, cool. Where? What city?
Outside of a city called Santander. The closest like big city that would have shows is Bilbao, which is about 40 minutes away.
Hey, Bilbao, Anthrax back in the day. Yeah. Cool. I love Spain.
Yeah.
It's a great country. It's a lot of fun, man.
Absolutely. I always remember Joey telling me that the only thing that he couldn't get used to was the time at which people ate over here.
Yeah, it's a crazy world over there. Let's go to dinner. It's midnight. Let's do it. Cool. The clubs are opening. It's 3 a.m. Let's go.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it wouldn't gel with my life now, because my life now is waking up at 7 a.m. and taking my kids to school. So I'd be hard pressed to work under the Spanish party hours. But I always love it when I'm there. I mean, there's no better place in the world than Spain, really, as far as I'm concerned. As far as the vivid love for life. And, people in South America kind of inherited that too, especially like Argentina and Chile. But, Spain they like to rock, man. You better be ready.
Yeah. Last thing to add regarding that. One of the first festivals I ever saw over here, it was actually Dio's last tour before he passed away. It was a solo tour. Kiss came on after them. After Dio. And then after that was Saxon. And Biff Byford says, only in Spain can we go on at 2:45 in the morning.
Wow.
At a festival. So.
Wow. That's when they went on?
That's when they went on.
2:45 a.m.?
And they played for an hour.
That's insane. And probably was packed.
It absolutely was.
That's great.
So. Anyway, it's interesting that I also see you where you are now, because if I recall correctly, during these Anthrax 40, the documentary where you were featured, some of the footage was shot right where you are now, correct?
Yeah, it's an office that, my wife is a casting director, and she's had a casting studio for, this place we've been here 13 years. Sadly enough, we're actually having to leave next month, which is a daunting circumstance that I'm probably in a bit of denial about, and so is she. But nevertheless, I've been packing as we go, and we've been here for 13 years. It's a pretty big place, so there's a big effort here involved. But yeah, it's where I am. I'm sorry. Sometimes the window's cool. Well, the window's cool, and then this is a shelf of just stuff. I don't know, but it's where I sit. It's my office. And yes, I did do a lot of the Anthrax documentary stuff from here, so I'm comfortable here. I come in the morning, my kids go to school down the street, so I'll take them to school, and then I'll come and I'll sing, before we begin the day of work. And I've been preparing we're doing a Metal Allegiance show this Saturday, actually, in New York. I'm leaving tomorrow, and it will be my first live gig in them since, I don't remember actually, but I think when Saint did some shows with UFO, or the Mega Cruise, I think was the last show I did in front of human beings. But it'll be fun, and I've been coming every day and preparing, because we're playing a bunch of songs, and I had to learn some things, and because we play lots of different stuff. So I've been working tirelessly here preparing for that.
Awesome. The reason that I usually start with the Armored Saint and then do the Anthrax stuff last, but I figured I'd flip the script a little here. I just have two Anthrax related questions, because to me, I saw that series and I was kind of bummed to the extent that I felt that there was kind of revisionist history done when it came to your history in the band, because there wasn't really an acknowledgement of you doing any of the Big Four shows. There was also no acknowledgement of the possibility of you being involved in the album that Joey ended up singing on Worship Music. Jeez, I had my notes screwed up here.
Yeah, Worship Music, that was the first record. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was kind of no acknowledgement about you being part of either one of those things. So it kind of bummed me out that it felt to me as a fan that there was kind of some revisionist history done, because to me, that's kind of a crucial point in the band's history, where there was kind of a tug of war going on between whether you were going to be involved, whether Joey, whether Corey Taylor, whether Dan Nelson. There's a whole lot of stuff there that it kind of just skipped over. So again, I just found it kind of weird.
Well, how do I respond to that? Are we talking about the documentary that they just
Yes.
put out? And they did a live stream, the 40th anniversary live stream too.
Right.
Did you see that?
I saw parts of that, and that was another thing I was going to say. You know, they're setting up. They show you, they show Paul Crook, they show Dan Levy, and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to kick so much ass. All these guys are going to come back. We're finally going to get 4 or 5 songs from the Bush era, you know, to cap everything off. And let's be honest, these live streams are not live. You know, they're recorded beforehand, so it's not as if they couldn't have, you know, scheduled each person to come in and done it over a series of, you know, a few days. I don't know how logistically that, you know, how much that would have cost and whether that would have made sense or not, but it seemed like they were setting us up for that. And all of a sudden when, you know, the live stream went off at like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. So I was like, all right, I'll watch it the next day. And of course it's all over the internet. Like, okay. They essentially said that Chuck D was the only guy that really was the only real special guest. I was like, well, they kind of set us up for this whole big thing, and it just kind of never happened. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, let me just say that the documentary was really cool. That was a great thing, I think, that they did, and obviously I was involved in that, and I thought it was really unique how they did every record. They really went through every single album, and that was really cool, and all the people involved in it. And I was pleased and happy that I was part of that. The live stream thing, you know, whatever, you know, that's what they decided to do, and you know, it's neither here nor there in terms of my participation. I'm not too concerned about it, and or not hurt either. So I mean, it's just is what it is. It's no big deal. So the documentary was important because obviously that it was touching on the history of those songs and those records. And like I said, I was happy to be part of that. And I had a lot of fun doing it. So, you know, live streams, whatever. I mean, live streams to me anyway, I'm over it. You know, I know it sounds terrible. We did one with Saint. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I was glad we did it, especially right after Punch in the Sky came out because, you know, we couldn't play it. So we had to do something. But, you know, and granted, we're trying to give fans and people something, obviously. And kudos to that, but you know, I don't necessarily need to do another live stream personally. You know, it was cool, did it. I'm ready to play in front of people, like a normal rock band. So you know, who knows? We'll see. But I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that or anything.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think the documentary overall was awesome, and it was funny because I think the episode before it was one of your era albums. It took longer to come out, and I was thinking, fuck, I hope they continue with this because, you know, I've talked to this at length with you in the past. You know, we've done a storytellers episode on Anthrax, and we've talked about your era in the band. That stuff, I mean, hit me at a certain point in time where there's a very emotional connection to that. So it was important to me that your era get represented and get talked about. And I do think that outside of that one thing, and maybe that's just me being an ass and wanting more within the documentary, but I do think that it was great that nonetheless all of those albums were touched upon.
Yeah, and you know, Megaforce has reissued some of those records, including Volume 8, which I'm super happy about. Actually, I've received some royalty checks lately, so I've been pretty stoked. And that's all I ever really wanted, you know, in my association with Anthrax. My whole thing is just let it be available, like, you know, who's better, what era is better, this and that. I mean, nothing really will ever compare to the 80s Anthrax in terms of the it being so fresh and new and unique and when they came out. And you know, the 90s is the 90s, and it changed, and everything went with it, and they brought in a new singer, and it was a cool transition, you know, in retrospect, and I was part of it, and I was excited about those years and my contributions, and I love those records. But there was a period of time where they just were not available. Like I would go to Amoeba here, record store here in LA, the big one, which is one of the few at this point, and I would look, you know, browse as I'm looking for records, and of course I would look through my own stuff because well, you know, I want to make sure it's there, and it was never there. It was just like, right. Wow, man, like, God, this sucks. You know, I just want it to be available in case somebody wants to buy it. And because there was just some weird, like when we left Elektra, we left the masters, and then we licensed those first 2 albums and then they went through, and then you have to relicense them. So it's a cool thing to have the masters or whatever it is called at this point. But then you always have to license it. If you don't, then you'll sell them through and it'll be done. I mean, you experience the same thing with Saint with the first 3 Chrysalis records, which are actually reissuing 2. Metal Blade's reissuing those now because we worked out a deal with Chrysalis, which is awesome. They actually forgave our debt, which was a very large sum of money, and they forgave it, which was pretty awesome and pretty cool. So we're excited about that. So for me, royalties are just like, it's principle. I made the joke earlier as we started, but it's principle. I don't care if it's $10. I don't care if it's 10 grand. I don't care. I just want to get royalties is the whole purpose of what we do. Like, you want to see a check that shows that you're getting paid for this thing that you did. And it's, like I said, it's principle. It really never matters what amount it is. Well, of course it does, but when I get one, I'm just happy because it feels like it's, it justifies what you did. So when those records weren't available, it was disappointing to me. I think We've Come For You All was always out because Nuclear Blast had that in Europe, but in the States it was like Sanctuary, which I also think went under. So, I don't know, but Megaforce has done a great job reissuing the stuff with cool vinyl, and I'm in debt to Missy Collazo, who's the queen of the label, and it's been great. So that's all I ever want, is just those things to be available.
Yeah, I actually have We've Come For You All, which was reissued. It's a double vinyl. Had I been ready, I would have had this to show it off. But they reissued that, and the Greater of Two Evils. They reissued those at the same time. I think it was like 3-4 years ago. And then and then I have something that's really weird, which when you mentioned licensing, the light bulb went off. I have Sound of White Noise on yellow vinyl, which was reissued in the early 2000s only in Spain. And it's licensed by Elektra or something to that extent on it. And then, of course, being the music nerd that I am, I uploaded my catalog to Discogs, and it had this whole write-up saying that, this was only available in Spain and this and that. And I found it at a skateboard shop that a friend owns, who also sells vinyl for whatever reason. Wow. I picked it up like 2 years ago. So.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't have that. I've never seen that. There was a period of time in the early 2000s where Beyond Records, which was a label that I think Alan Kovacs would manage Motley Crue, and Motley Crue were with them, ironically, because they were on Elektra when Anthrax was. Well, I think Motley was on the whole time, but and so they reissued Sound of White Noise and Stomp, and that was great, and again, usually people make a certain amount of records and then they sell through, and then it's up to the company to reissue it. Like, that's what happened with Chrysalis, and Metal Blade did the first 3 Saint records a while back now, and then they sold through, and at that point, again, this is probably like maybe 15 years ago now. Where they said, okay, you want to do it again, now you have to make double the amount. And it was like, it went from like, it was like 10 to 15,000 to like 30. And we're like, wait a minute, like, see the size of the band here. Let's be honest with this. People went through, and the diehards like got this. Now you're asking for double the sales. Like, the fans already went and did it, who probably wanted it. That was quite greedy, I thought, at the time. Like, and they said no, which I understood. Anyways, it's a long story. But like I said, the cool thing is, like, the Chrysalis records, we worked out a deal. And what's happening after 35 years is that people are getting their masters back. And I guess that's one good thing about being old, is that now we're so old that we can actually get our masters back. And a lot of labels want to work it out where they don't lose catalog, because catalog is giant, let's face it, for everybody, whether it's this time Saint or Tom Petty, it doesn't matter. You don't want to lose those records that you made. So they're working out arrangements and deals, and the artists have some leverage, actually, which is great. Maybe I'm telling too much information on the business front, and some of it I don't even probably know, because Joey deals with a lot of it. But anyways, in a nutshell, that's kind of what happened. And it's actually going to be favorable. some of the royalties through streaming and stuff have been pretty artist favorable, which is great, you know, because come on, man, you know, you want to make money. You don't want to try to like. Everybody wants to make a living. I don't give a shit if you're the most punk rock band or hardcore metal band, or you know, everybody wants to see something for the work they've done. It's just like I said, it's principle. So.
Yeah, that's funny. There was a discussion a few weeks ago, I think it was on Twitter, where Dino from Fear Factory responded to the whole thing about Kardashians wearing like t-shirts from metal bands. And he said, please wear my t-shirts. He says, I'd love to have a bump in sales. And there was somebody that started giving him shit about it. And I said, look, there's no musician that says, hey, I'd rather be flipping burgers all week and playing, you know, at a club on the weekends. Everyone who dreams about being a musician wants to make money off of this. And if you realistically, if you're not trying to be, hey man, I'm cooler than you, I'm so metal that I don't give a fuck about selling anything, like you just said, you know, or what you alluded to, everyone wants to make something off of their craft.
Well, I mean, if you don't make any money, the logic is you probably won't be able to continue to do it because it still costs money to fund it, to fund the project, you know, unless, I mean, how are you going to get in a studio and record it? You know, you need the ability to do that, and it costs money. So it's as simple as that, really, quite frankly. Yeah, you know, everybody shouldn't feel embarrassed or ashamed for wanting to make a living, because that's how you can prolong your career. Otherwise, you're done, and then what? You know, so you know, Dino's correct in that what he's yearning for, and that is to have his band continue on because sales are helping promote it, and
yeah.
It's the point of this, you know. I mean, otherwise, make an album, don't give it to anyone, you know. I mean, what? Like that?
Yeah.
There's nobody doing that. There's nobody doing that. You know what I mean? So as long as you do it with dignity, that's the key. You know, I think that's the key. As long as it's dignified, whatever that may be, you know, then I think it's all good.
Awesome. The first time I interviewed you, and I think this is going to be like 7 or 8 interviews ago with you, was when you were promoting La Raza. At the time, we talked about Symbol of Salvation, which is obviously the live album that you guys are about to release. At the time, it was interesting because when we talked about the album, it seemed like there was still a bit of like pain when it came to discussing the album, obviously because of the loss of Dave and stuff like that. In other interviews that we've done over the years where we've talked about Symbol, and especially the last time when we talked for Punching the Sky, you had talked about playing the album in its entirety, and it seemed like there was more of a joy when it came to discussing the album. Is that a fair assessment? And if so, what has changed, you feel, in this time, in like the 10 years since we initially talked about it?
Well, I don't, you know, remember too, is that obviously Symbol was made, kind of a Phoenix Rising theory behind it. And then also I left afterwards, you know, and joined Anthrax, and then the band disbanded for a while. So that was another element to add to, you know, potentially what is perceived as some pain associated with it. I think everybody, though, internally always looks at Symbol as this incredible accomplishment, because really it almost didn't happen. As simple as that. And, you know, I was a guy at the time after Dave died, and it was fresh, and we were like a month after his passing, and just kind of, I don't know what to do here. I don't know how to continue with this. It was Gonzo and Joey, I'll give him credit, that actually kind of, you know, rallied the troops of ourselves and said, we have to put these songs out. We made them, and we wrote them. And Dave would be disappointed if we didn't. So then we kind of had a powwow, and we figured out how to do it. And that's why bringing in Jeff and Phil was a logical decision. But yeah, you know, I just always think it's a special record. I don't necessarily, you know, by doing when we did the tour, it became even clearer how special of a record it was, actually, because you played the songs every night. You played them in the set of the sequence of the record. And it was cool. It just shows how versatile the record is. There's a lot of different vibes on it throughout. Every song is different from one another, and it kind of encompasses the whole gamut with like, rockers and ballads and, kind of unusual songs like Tainted Pass and, the bluesy Truth Always Hurts and the title track. It's just a real diverse album. And it became real clear every night playing it and how well the songs are. And there were songs that we hadn't played ever, like Hanging Judge and Burning Question, or if we did, we played them once, maybe twice. But it was cool to bring those songs. We played Rain and Fire a million times in Last Train Home, but it was cool to really kind of play those other tunes because they were super fresh and exciting every night. Not that Rain isn't, because it is. It's a classic song from the record, but just to play those songs we hadn't played was really fun because they were just fresh still. So it's a special record. The Dave Jordan connection. Brian Colstrom engineered it. He passed away a few years ago, and that was really sad. And he was part of it. Obviously, Dave's on it with lead on Tainted Pass. He wrote a lot of those songs. Metal Blade, coming back to Metal Blade for that record after leaving and being with Chrysalis, doing the tour, now the live record. It's just everything about it is pretty special.
Cool. And I have a listener who, his name is Mike Jones. For the last, I guess, the show at the Gramercy was recorded in 2018. Since 2018, he keeps asking me, what do you know about the Saint live album? I was there. When's it coming out? What do you know about it? Let me know when you find out about it. So as soon as I saw that there was something officially posted online about it, I sent it to him. I go, finally, your day has come. Maybe if you see a bald head in the crowd, you can say, hey, that's me. So
Mike Jones, because I know a Mike Jones. I don't know if it's the same Mike Jones that we're talking about. He was from Boston. Is that who you're talking about? Or
he's from all over the world, actually. Mike was born in Spain at a military base, lived in Colorado. He lived all over the world because he was, an army brat. And
so it's a different Mike that I know, but I've probably met maybe this Mike Jones through the years. But well, cool. I'm glad he's excited, and the DVD is great. It really is cool. It's there's some cool banter in between songs. Well, I'm patting myself on the back, but storytelling type of stuff, talking about the origins of some of the songs. I'm always trying to add my sense of humor. It's my subliminal way of trying to improve my potential stand-up career, which will never happen. But I was trying to keep it just feeling authentic and telling the stories and trying to give it a different vibe every night. I think that's the key to seeing performances of bands, is to change. I mean, you're playing a record in its entirety, so obviously that's the same. But I do like changing sets up. I do like changing up the banter. There was a time in my career where I would write what I was going to say down, and I don't do that anymore. I just speak off the cuff, and I want it to be different every night. I want every show to feel different, so that's real important to me.
Cool. And I've been lucky enough to see the screener, and it looks really cool. Aesthetically looks cool, sounds cool. And, for me, so many live albums that come out now just don't have that special feeling that old live albums had. And to me, watching this, I was getting goosebumps the entire time, remembering of what it was like to listen to Symbols for the first time and remembering what it was like, to listen to certain songs over the years. Because obviously there are certain songs that stick out. And like you said, there are others that you kind of forgot about because you haven't listened to them as much. Hanging Judge happens to be one of the songs that I've listened to the most over the years. But to me, it was cool. It's like, holy shit. Yeah, this song was on there. This is great. So it was almost like being reintroduced to the whole album over again. How much did you guys work on, the input with what it was going to look like and what the shots that, ended up being in the Blu-ray or DVD ended up being? Were you guys allowed to work on that side of things, or are there other people at the label handling that?
Well, the people that did a lot of the camera stuff were Vince from the label, Vince Edwards, And then Stephanie Cabral, who's a friend of ours as well, who does photography, and we've known for years, and we have a long relationship with, and they both were involved in the filming of it, at least from the Gramercy part. You know, we filmed a few shows, but the Gramercy is the primary source of it. There's a couple slip-ins of other things. I'm not going to lie about it because I don't lie, for better or worse. And really, most of the audio was from the direct show from New York. We had to, you know, we fixed a couple little things. I'm not going to lie, but it ain't like a whole overall redo like certain live albums were, even in the 70s. None I will mention. However, it's still a great records. But hey, but you know, it's pretty authentic. It's pretty real. You know, there's a couple mistakes. Like Joey would say, "Are you okay with that?" I'm like, you know, my voice flubs a little bit there, but it sounds live. You know, so let's just keep it. You know, so we were involved in it, and Joey mixed it, and I do think it sounds great. As a matter of fact, The Truth Always Hurts actually debuted today on YouTube, so that was really cool. And again, that was cool that was the first song, because it's a little different than a lot of the other tunes. And we always like that song. That's another one we didn't play too much live. It's hard to sing. Some pretty high parts in that for me. But it came out great. I just watched it because we were supposed to do it debuted like at 8 this morning. And it was a live chat just for the period of that song. And I forgot about it. And I was like, darn. So then I went back and looked at it, and there were some nice comments about it from the fans, and we're grateful.
Cool. So we have Brad in the chat asking, what song off of the album that you hadn't played before was one of your favorites to do?
You know, let's throw like, you know, I've told those like Hayden Judge, you know, Truth Always Hurts for sure, Tainted Past. I mean, those were all great. I love Burning Question, because when we first started playing that one, it actually was like, you know what's funny is the original demo of Burning Question, I think is still the best, which if you have the Metal Blade record, the Symbol record that came out a few years back when we reissued it with all the demos, and Brian Slagle interview, I don't know if you know that one. I actually thought the demo was still the better version of that song for some reason, because just sometimes it works like that. But when we started playing it, I was like, okay, yeah. And then for some reason, I had this thing in my mind, and I started talking about it, saying this song sounds like an old arena rock song from the 80s and 90s. And so I kind of made a joke about that, like live a few times, of like, I know we're at a club, but let's pretend we're at, you know, it's a 15,000 seat arena, because this is an arena rock song. And then once I kind of said that, and we had that kind of vibe, it really just kind of took off. So it was one of those songs that we didn't play a lot, if ever. And then once kind of perceived it as that, it felt different, and it was great to play live. So I'll say that one.
Cool. You guys have kind of flip-flopped between studio album, live album, studio album, live album. Could you envision doing that going forward, or does it just have to feel right to put out more live content in the future?
Well, since you mentioned that, I probably would say let's stay away from doing that. I mean, this DVD and live album is going to be really special, so I think, you know, that should carry on for a while in people's minds and memory. You know, eventually we would like to make a new record. I'm not quite there mentally yet to do that, to be honest, mainly because, you know, we really haven't. Usually what, you know, a band does, you make a record, you go tour, you play some of those songs live, you're excited, and then you kind of burn out of playing live, and then you go, okay, let's make a record. And that's the standard formula for most bands, of course. Right. But we haven't done that. We haven't played Punching the Sky, so we haven't played any of those songs. So we're doing some shows at the end of the year, only 5 for now, but we're playing with Black Label Society here on the West Coast of America, and we're really excited and looking forward to that. And we get to play those songs that we haven't played yet. So once we go through that phase of playing them, then we'll be in the mindset of working. I mean, I'd like to say I was, you know, as creative as, you know, Paul McCartney and John Lennon, just a writing machine, but I'm really not. But who is?
Right. Yeah, I've heard varying opinions from different bands, you know, some that, like you said, you know, want to make sure that, you know, they put out a great album. So they want to make sure that those songs get exposure, while there are others that are lucky enough to continuously write stuff who just want to, just put out whatever comes to mind, whether it's an EP, whether it's a single, so on and so forth. But, I get exactly what you're saying. I mean, I think Punching the Sky, for at least a lot of people that follow my show, when we did end of year favorites, Punching the Sky was number one, I would have to say, on the majority of people that chimed in. So I get it. You guys made an important album and want to make sure that those songs are heard.
Well, that's very nice of everybody who did that. And, we thought it was a great record too. We're really excited about it. And we could have held off on releasing it. But to me, it made no sense to do that, obviously, because it was during the time of people clamped down. And to me, it was an important time to release music because you needed to escape, the realities of what's happening. So music was pivotal. Plus we're just, quite frankly, we're just not big enough of a band to go, well, we're going to hold off to coordinate it with our arena tour. And it's like, we're not doing that because we're not playing arenas. So, there's just no reason to do that. I understand if like the Foo Fighters would do it, it makes sense. But for Saint, it didn't matter. So, we're going to play some shows. We're going to do some rehearsing. As a matter of fact, I haven't even rehearsed those songs yet because I still don't want to burn out on them yet,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to start preparing here in the next couple of weeks. But, I figured I'd postpone it as long as possible because I just don't want to 2 months in of practicing and going, oh God, I'm already kind of bored of these songs, which I don't think I would be, but I really want to avoid that. So.
Right. Years ago, you told me that to get ready for tours, at that time, you were singing along to, I think it was the first Rainbow album, perhaps? Or...
Could be, yeah. Or at least along with Rock and Rising.
There you go. If you were to start today to prepare for that tour, what would you be singing along to?
Well, I would start singing the same songs. That's what I would do. I haven't been doing that. As a matter of fact, I'm doing a show with Metal Allegiance this Saturday in Long Island. It's going to be the first show I actually performed live since the Mega Cruise, I think is when Saint's last show was. So other than the live stream. But so that'll be the first time I'll get on stage in front of human beings. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm leaving to New York tomorrow. And I always love playing with those guys. They're super talented and they're just amazing, legends. So it'll be cool to always play with them. And it'll be fun. I've been working on getting my voice ready to play those songs and prepare for them. And I'm looking forward to that, and that'll be fun. But in terms of the Saint stuff, I just haven't been really ready to start practicing those songs yet. So I've been holding off, actually. So.
Gotcha. Okay, so for Metal Allegiance, what are you singing along to outside of your songs? Are you singing along to your songs?
Well, I don't want to tell people too much of what we're doing. I want to leave it something special. We are playing a couple of the original songs. Like the song I sang was Bound by Silence, which was on the second Metal Allegiance record. So we're going to do that, and then we're doing Dying Song, which is a song that Phil Anselmo actually originally sang on the record of the first record, but me and Mark will get us together. We'll sing it as a duo, and Mark's going to be there. It's just going to be him and I as singers go, and then it's so usually sometimes there's different people that come in and sing with it, but this time it's just going to be me and Mark. But Chuck Billy usually comes out and is part of it, but I don't think maybe he must be busy or something this time. But then we're doing some covers and. We're doing some Anthrax songs that I did during the era, so we are doing a couple of those songs from the John Bush era of Anthrax too. So it's gonna be fun.
Awesome. Since we were talking live,
too much because I don't want to reveal too much. That's why I'm a little bit vague about.
No, that's absolutely understandable. You're trying to keep it special for the people that go out and
exactly.
Get to the show. Totally understandable. We were talking about your live album a moment ago. Do you have any favorite live albums that you grew up listening to?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you can't ever go wrong with Kiss Alive, obviously, at least in the East. Strangers in the Night would probably be my top three. I think I wore those records out and to this day still listen to them. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to play a couple songs with Metal Allegiance of two of those three records. I mean, of course, you could put Live and Dangerous from Thin Lizzy in there as well. And let me think here. And those, I think those would be my favorite records for sure. They just changed my life. Unleashed in the East for sure. It was just, I mean, when that came out, we heard that, it was just, wow. It just went to a whole nother level of blowing my friends and my mind away. And then Strangers is amazing too. As a matter of fact, Joey just gave me as a gift the new box set that came out with that, and contains like 7 other shows that they compiled the whole record from. And it was really cool because there was a bunch of songs from that Obsession record, which ironically enough, that was the tour for that record, but yet Only You Can Rock Me is the only song from Obsession on that, which in retrospect, looking back, I thought was kind of weird. But on this box set, there's like Hot and Ready and Cherry and Pack It Up, which are amazing songs. So I was really excited to have that and listen to that. So, and Kiss Alive, come on, that was my introduction. I remember playing that at El Sereno Junior High School, where me and a bunch, Gonzo and Joey and various friends went to junior high school, and going in the library and taking it out at the school library, had to probably show a library card, and you had maybe a small window of lunch or something that you would be able to play the record, and then you had to return it. So weird. But it was, that was just like, oh my God, Deuce, the beginning, just, I'm sure millions of people can relate to that, of course, but it was pretty eye-opening. And I saw Kiss first show ever, Anaheim Stadium, I believe it was 1976. I was like 12 years old, and went with a group of friends. I think my mom took us, and Ted Nugent opened, which must have been like Free For All album, or maybe even the first Ted Nugent record, and it's Destroyer, forget about it. I was like wide-eyed doe, walking around, people painted with their faces, and I was probably a little scared because I was young. It was a lot to be exposed to, but it was also just very eye-opening and riveting.
Cool. So actually, since you brought up Kiss, there was a Kiss-related question in the chat. So Michael James Jackson produced Creatures of the Night, which fans rave about to this day. Do you have memories of him working with him on March of the Saint?
I do. It wasn't one of the most fond memories. Nothing against Michael as a person. He was a very nice man. I think he was kind of going through something personal in his life at that point, and he was a bit disassociated with that record. We did a lot of the stuff with Chris Minto, who's the engineer, and that's why we actually used him on Raising Fear, because we love Chris. I think Michael, he might have been going through a divorce. I don't remember exactly now. It was a long time ago. But one of the reasons we're excited to work with him is because Creatures of the Night, and I believe he did Lick It Up too. And those records were powerful, and we were excited. But for some reason, it was just, I don't know what it was, but I think he was just a bit disengaged. And, whatever. It's just another story in the life of Armored Saint. I don't look back and, harbor any ill will by any means. The record sounds the way it does. Certainly could have been a little more powerful. The basic tracks were probably a little meaner and grittier than the record came off, a little more polished than I would like to have had it. Plus, we spent way too much money on it. I think we spent somewhere around $350,000 making that record. And that was, people were making records for a lot of money during that time. And we were in Ocean Wave Studios, which, we were in one room, and Supertramp was in another room, and Barbara Streisand was in another room. And we're like, what are we doing here? These are really huge artists, and what are we doing here? As a matter of fact, I recorded a lot of the vocals at a little studio called Clover, which was probably better because it was small and, just felt like a little more vibey. And, Ocean Wave was great. It was amazing. The studio is still there. I don't know if it's called something else now, but it's still there. I drive by it all the time. It's right down the street from where I'm at right now. And it was great to be in there, but it was just like, ding, ding, ding. The money was just going. And, I wish people were keeping better track of what we were spending, but I guess everybody thought, we were going to be these mega stars, and it didn't quite turn out to be that way. And it actually did put us in debt for the rest of our career, quite frankly. But hey, that's life, and live and learn. What are you going to do? And it is a great record, and I love March, and let's face it, March and Can You and Madhouse and Seducer and Glory Hunter, Stricken by Fate. I mean, these are like songs that are super associated with Armored Saints history for sure. But nothing against Michael, just a little disengaged. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Gotcha. Okay. I have a few other fan submitted questions here from my Patreon. It's another thing related to a show. So we have Jerry in Long Island who asked, do you guys remember the gig at Stony Brook University with Quiet Riot?
Wow, that's funny you say that. Okay, so Jerry needs to go to the Metal Legion show because he's in Long Island, if he still is living there.
Yeah.
Number two is I just did an interview with the guys from Metal Legion's radio show, and the DJ asked me, what was your first time ever playing the island? And I mentioned that show, Stony Brook. I think it was Stony Brook University. It was a college, and we played there with Quiet Riot and Whitesnake. I don't remember that much about that particular gig other than it was there. I remember Stony Brook because it was just a name I wouldn't have forgotten. And it was on Long Island, but I don't remember much about the gig. Nothing against. I'm sorry, Jerry, but I'm sure it was great, and it was a fun tour. And we got to see Whitesnake every night, which was so amazing because they were red hot right then. It was Slide It In record, and Coverdale was just a rock star, and John Sykes and Cozy Powell, and just an amazing band. And Quiet Riot was great too. And they were kind of already slipping a little. It was such a massive record, Metal Health, and then by the second record, Condition Critical, they were already having their 15 minutes, and it was starting to slip. But that was our first arena tour, and we were so excited to be out there. And we played some big gigs on that tour: Market Square Arena in Indianapolis, Cobo Hall, which is where Kiss Alive was recorded,
right.
The Beach Theater in New York, and just some great venues. And it was our first tour. It was kind of a hard place to start because you started playing arenas.
Right.
Can only go down from there. But we weren't obviously the headliner. But yeah, it was pretty awesome, man. We were 21 years old, man. It was I always say that was like my college education because when people were going to college, we were playing arenas.
Yeah. Wow. Very cool. Mark Striegel from actually the Talking Metal podcast asked, will Armored Saint ever do a long old school tour instead of a few dates here and there like they're doing now?
In other words, you don't play enough is what he's suggesting. Well, we did actually tour a lot on When Hands Down, probably the most we have in years. So okay. I think it's just a matter of the right tour. And I know that people, when I say that, let me clarify my point. Well, number one, we're a bunch of guys in our mid-50s, late 50s, some of us. Going out and roughing it in a van is not appealing. Don't get me wrong, we did it. As a matter of fact, we did it on Symbol of Salvation. One of the most grueling tours I ever remember. 10 guys, band and crew, in a van, carrying a trailer, traveling around the country. Not the greatest tour. Rat Child America and Last Crack were the bands we were touring with. It was a pretty rough tour. The crew was creating this kind of mutiny on the tour manager. It was a lot of dissension, and we were way too tight. And I remember driving through the Rockies and thinking we were going to just fly off the cliff. It was pretty treacherous, actually. But it was a memory that I look back on now and laugh. But at the time, it sucked. Quite honestly, it was rough. And so I've done that, and I don't want to do that again. There's no reason for me to do that because I won't be happy and then I won't have good shows. Want to do a tour correctly. Doesn't mean, nobody's under any delusion about Armored Saint and the level of our fame. We are what we are, and we do what we do, and we make the money that's, that we should be making according to promoters and what we're worthy of. But you want to do something that is fun and good, and you're in a bus and you're doing a right tour, and hopefully everybody coming home with a little money and happy and getting sleep and living like a human being. You know, if you're 22, you can go out and rough it in a van, but you know, we just can't do it. So we want to do the right tour, and that's what we're looking for. And usually it's a support slot. Certainly we're going to headline. We did the simple tour of a headline tour, and it was great. It was fun. It doesn't matter what the tour is. It's just like, it has to be the right tour. And that's what we're looking at. So, and we did a lot. We toured Metal Church. We toured Queensryche. We toured with Saxon. So we did a lot of great tours. You know, UFO, we did a handful of shows with. So, and those are really, you know, all amazing. So it's just, you know, whatever it is, the right tour. And we already have a tour planned for the end of next year. Unfortunately, it's not till later in part of 22, which sounds like we're not even in October yet. So it sounds like a long time away, but that's what some stuff is happening. But it'll be a real cool tour. It's going to be a pretty long tour, and it will be something I think old school fans are going to really dig. I can't say with who yet because it's just not been promoted, and I'm not at liberty to say who, but it's going to be a really cool tour, and it will be a pretty long one for us. So there you go.
Yeah, and I think, again, going back to the interview that we did when La Raza came out, you also talked a bit about how, you know, your life had changed, having kids and whatnot, and having a family, not wanting to tour as much as you had previously done. Obviously, we're talking 10 years later, as kids get older and as life continues to evolve and change.
Right.
So
well, my daughter's now driving. She's 16 and driving. And she'll be 17 next month. So she's driving. You know, although I did take them to school today, and I always want to cherish those moments because they are getting older. But and my son's 14, so like they're older now. Yeah, so I was home for those, to me, pivotal years. I don't think you get time back. That's one thing. You can always find a way to make money, but you cannot get the time back. That's something that's gone, you know? So if that was the case, I made that sacrifice personally, not even always probably with the band's agreement, because they probably would have preferred touring more than me. Maybe not Joey, because he has a daughter too that he was raising, and she's the same age. But you know, it was important to me to be there, you know, especially for my wife and I, and we tag team the way we raise our kids, and that's just the way it was. And now they're older, and you know, my daughter will be in college here soon now, so which is, you know, breaks my heart, but it's reality. So it might be easier to go out on the road for a longer period of time now, and it's just the way it worked out.
Father to father, and someone who currently sacrifices a lot for their kids, for a 10 and 8-year-old, I understand exactly where you're coming from. So
I'm the main Uber driver. My son plays youth hockey. He plays a pretty high level, and he plays in Valencia, which is about an hour here from LA. And I not only drive him, but I drive 2 other of his teammates. A lot of the time, I'm like the carpool dude. And so I know it's not, you know, the rock star that you imagine, but John Bush is really just the driver of his son. So, I mean, that's just part of the job description of my life.
Basketball at 7 a.m. on Saturdays after finishing my live show at 2 a.m. on Saturday morning. So
you play hoops?
Yeah, my kids do.
Oh, your kids do. Oh, great. Awesome. Well, Paul Gasol, Marc Gasol, man, Spanish.
Yeah.
The Spanish team was amazing. They, you know, Ricky Rubio. I'm a huge basketball fan, so it's cool.
Yeah. Well, they're definitely going to be in for a lot of transition now with the Gasol brothers retiring, and a lot of the other, you know, Rubio is still he's early 30s at this point.
I remember when he was a kid. Yeah, he's not anymore, sure.
Me too. Yeah, absolutely. Last thing that I want to ask you about, you guys recently released a video for Lone Wolf. Outside of me mentioning when we talked about the album last year, how much that album, or that track specifically, stood out to me. It was cool that a video came out of that, but also, what was it like to put that video together? Again, similar to what I asked you about the DVD before, how much input did you guys have on putting that video together? Or was the story presented to you guys, and how did they sell you on being kind of the main character there?
Well, Robert is the director. He also did Missile the Gun, and he also did End of the Attention Span. So he did both of those videos. And it was awesome. It was so fun to do that. And it was a challenge, you know, because I was, you know, doing this video that kind of made me a little bit of an actor, which was a unique experience for me, but it was fun to do that. And I thought it was great. You know, it really came out awesome. Like I said, Robert, the director, is just super talented guy. He's incredible, actually. Some of those videos, I still can't believe how much we made those videos for, let alone, you know, how they looked. Because, I mean, they looked so stellar. And you know, so it looks like something that was made in the 80s for like thousands and thousands of dollars. And we pulled it off, and he pulled it off to make it, you know, pretty reasonable as far as price goes. But yeah, it was cool. I mean, it was funny. I made the joke that we're like some big 80s MTV band because we had 4 videos, you know, which is ridiculous. And they all look really amazing. So it was fun to do Lone Wolf and be that character. And, you know, the guys actually were acting in it, did a really awesome job as well. And it was fun. So hopefully, you know, people get out there and check it out on YouTube. And it's the last one we made of the four songs from that record.
And also, there's no one climbing water towers. There's no one performing any type of dangerous activity at this point in time.
Well, those guys did have guns, and you know, and we were in a pretty sketchy part of downtown LA where we filmed it. So I was like going, this could easily surreal move into a real kind of moment, because we were like, when I was looking around during some of those times, I really was looking around me like, who is here? Because it was a pretty rough area. But so my acting wasn't much of a stretch on that. But those guys did a great job. And like I said, Robert, he's going to be a star. He's such a creative director, young guy. He's done a bunch of great videos. He's going to do, I see that guy making movies or working in television for sure, because he's really, really talented and does things easily. Like he'll do a scene, and you know, videos can be a long, arduous process. You can spend a whole day shooting, and he would do a couple takes and be, I got it. And I was like, oh, awesome. I got it. And I was like, oh, great. You know, so otherwise it's like take 30, here we go again. And you know, it could just be long and just tiresome, but it wasn't like that. He got what he wanted, and he got it pretty on the ball. So it was cool to work with him like that. And you know, it's funny in Lone Wolf because I'm the kind of the bad guy. You know, I'm like the guy who takes off. And you know, when it was first presented, you know, I was like, wow, do you want to be that? And I even think Gonzo was like, well, do you want to be showcased like that? Where I'm like, well, number one, it's a video. I'm not really doing that in life. It's just a video, you know. So I was like, let's do it, you know, because like, you know, look, Armored Saint always has this reputation of being nice guys. You know, we really do. It's kind of our background, and I really think we are. I'm not saying I can't be a dick. I can be a dick sometimes, just like anybody else. But really, for the most part, we're pretty nice guys, and we have that reputation, and I love that reputation. I want to keep that. But it was funny. It was like, well, you know, because then we had this idea, maybe we'll do like a Robin Hood thing where he goes and gives it to, you know, some homeless person and or, you know, a shelter. And I was like, let's not do that. You know, like let's make it like, you don't know what he's doing with it, but he kept it. I go, it's good for me to be that guy, to not always be, you know, the good guy. And I was glad about that. So again, it's a video. It's not like I really did that in life. You know, so.
Right. It reminded me of the briefcase in Pulp Fiction, where you don't know what's in the briefcase. You don't know when the video ends. It's like, oh, what did this guy do with that money? You know?
Right. Exactly. Hey, maybe I did take it to a shelter. Maybe I did give it to a homeless person. They could certainly benefit from it because it's been really bad here in Los Angeles. But that's the ambiguous part that we'll leave the people with.
Will be fodder for the fans for years to come.
There you go. There you go.
What is the longest you've ever been on a video shoot?
Wow. Well, it's probably something I did with Anthrax. I don't remember. I don't think anything probably exceeded like 2 days realistically, but probably there were 2-day shoots. I don't remember exactly, to be honest. But I do remember the Inside Out video for Anthrax, which was a killer video. The one was kind of based on the Twilight Zone episode, and we're on the plane and it was raining, and that was a killer video. And I remember they wanted me to wear these these contact lenses, which was really unnecessary because it was raining. Well, it looked like it was raining. It was just heavy, like water that we were spraying on us. And so you couldn't really see it until the very end of the video, but I wore them, and I don't wear contact lenses. I could never put anything in my eye. That's why I wear glasses, because I just couldn't do it. And I had these things in. These were not like soft contact lenses. They were hard lenses, and I wore them for hours. And man, by the end of the day, I could not see. I could not see. So there's that funny scene at the very end where they go in the plane and they show, like the characters, the band, and then they kind of focus on me, and I kind of look at the video, and I have a sad look, and I could barely open my eyes because I literally could not open my eyes because my eyes were, I don't think I could see for like 2 days after that because my eyes were just jacked up from those lenses. So I do remember that being pretty horrible in retrospect, but the video is great. It came out amazing, but God, that was brutal.
Again, the things you do for your craft.
I did it.
Awesome. I want to thank you for your time. Again, it is always awesome to speak to you, and awesome to speak to you for the first time like this, face to face per se. And the album drops the 22nd of October, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe it does. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the Blu-ray and vinyl pre-ordered. It is that good. It is well worth it. If anyone is remotely a fan of the band, I definitely I do recommend that you check it out. And to keep up with you guys, it's armoredsaint.com, right?
That's correct. And you know what? Let's do another interview in the future. And what we could do is one where maybe we take a lot more fan questions and stuff, because that's always fun. Awesome. So that'll give us a premise for the next interview we get.
No problem at all. I'll bug Nikki about it. No problem.
Okay, great. Well, thanks again, dude. Always a pleasure to chat with you. This was a lot of fun, and stay safe there in Spain. And hopefully we'll come to Spain next year and play, because we've only played one show ever in the country of Spain. That was the Barcelona Metal Fest a few years ago. Maiden was on the bill. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And I did many shows with Anthrax in Spain that were always just some of the best ever. So hopefully we'll see you soon. Thanks to all the fans internationally for all the support. We obviously can't do it without you. And we'll see you on the road somewhere, sometime, I promise.
Awesome. Thank you for your time, sir.
All right, see you soon.
All right. See you.
Peace.
All right. So there's my interview with the one and only John Bush. Always fun to talk to. Easily my favorite interview. I mentioned this to somebody today, a friend of mine here who plays in a band. When I first started podcasting, I was doing shows in Spanish because I wanted to do something different. I felt that people weren't, doing that here. And then I met a lot of resistance from the old guard here. And I remember reaching out and saying, hey, can I interview John Bush? I've been podcasting for 12 years now. So I interviewed John 10 years ago for the first time. So it was 2 years in. And I remember, I got a response within the day saying I can interview John. I said, why am I busting my ass to try to get interviews with people who are like rock stars in their own head? Maybe their mother and their friends know about them. And to top it off, they're saying, okay, I'll do the interview, but you have to pay for drinks, or you have to pay me for the CD, or shit like that. I'm like, wait a second. John Bush isn't asking me for shit. John Bush is an artist who's near and dear to me because of his importance. His lyrics, have become part of the soundtrack of my life. John Bush, Armored Saint, Anthrax are things that I reach to when times are tough, when things are great, when I need a kick in the ass, all these things. So why am I wasting my time with some local yokel who doesn't even appreciate the fact that I'm trying to help bring their music to the masses? So, not saying that I have the masses behind me, but you guys get where I'm coming from. So, awesome to talk to him. I had a bunch of things prepared, and I will. Yeah, it seems like he wants to come back and do this again with more fan interaction. So we'll see if we can pull this off. Definitely, I will talk to a lot of the powers that be. Other friends like Mr. Sinzak and Mr. Dahl. Maybe we could somehow cross promote and have people come on and submit questions. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes. He's always been very good to the show. He's always been great, and I think at this point it's 8 or 9 interviews deep, and there's certain things that I haven't even released that he's done for me with regards to, for example, the classic albums series. So there you go. Thank you guys in the chat. All you guys that were able to join. I realize this is a tough time for people because of the time of day. It's always tough. I get that Fridays are tough for people as well. Mike Jones, who stepped in, he's got a lot of things going on with his kids and whatnot at that time, and I respect that. I appreciate even if you can spend 5 seconds with me, because I realize there are a million other things you could do with your time, but you decide to spend time with me here on Signals from Mars, or watch the replay, or listen to the podcast when it comes out. In any event, this hour has flown by, and thanks again for John for coming on. Thanks to Nikki Law from Breaking the Law PR. She just started the company, and there isn't another PR person that I could give higher praise to, whether I've dealt with her at Century Media or Metal Blade or now her own company. She's always gone above and beyond for me and never had me deal with any nonsense. So thank you, Nikki, for setting this up. I will have Joey from Armored Saint on next week. So there you have that. She helped set that up as well. So if you guys want to submit, especially my patrons, if you guys want to submit questions for Joey, there's still time to do that. And yeah, thanks again. Was a blast. Thanks for all you guys being here. And that is it. We will see you on Friday. We will see what we have on Friday, what type of a show we have. I'm scrambling to get a guest for that show, but I'm sure that I'll be able to do something. But regardless, it will be cool to catch up with you guys. That is it. See you guys. Thanks again.